everybody. I am so glad that we're back to doing my live reading. And Batman wanted to come up. Hi. Did you want to say hi to everybody? Say hi to everybody. That's my chocolate bar. Hi. I'm pretty sure you guys can hear him. But he does this like every time. If you're new to my channel, he thinks I'm talking to him, so he'll jump up on my desk and he'll like get in front of the camera. He's done that a lot in previous live readings, and yeah, he'll just get in front of the camera and you can probably hear him. Hi. And the Batman. Batman. Hi. And then Oreo, he'll climb up on the side of my chair at any minute. So the last time we had left off, I read chapter 4, 3 and 4. I was supposed to have read chapter 4 not last week, but the week before. But now we are going to be starting off with chapter 5, which I'm really excited about. So, okay, let's see. Okay. Batman. Batman. Hey. Hi. Hi, do mama. You're too handsome. I know you're too handsome, you little baby. I wonder, can you guys hear him? Can you hear him? Aww. And oh, Poppy. Okay, I gotta read. Okay. Okay, so this is chapter 5. Right, Batman? Okay. Once the white mist had disappeared, Olivia turned back around and bumped right into Gina. Whoa, Olivia. I'm sorry. Are you okay? Yes. Gina kept looking straight ahead, her eyes drifting in a different direction. Both her fists were clenched and her knuckles grew white. Whatever she saw must have been tense. When Gina came back to reality, a low shriek came from her lips, and she covered her mouth with both hands. Her face grew pale like winter snow. Her eyes widened as if she had seen evil emerge from the darkness, and the chilly whispers were heard from the quiet, cold night. What, Gina? What's wrong? Olivia asked, almost too afraid to know what she had seen. Does this road seem familiar to you in any way? Gina asked. Olivia looked to her right and then to her left. What do you mean? This road blocks the Salem village and Salem town. How do you know? I saw it on the map days ago. The accused lived in the Salem town, and the accusers lived in the Salem village. I didn't know that. Gina placed a hand to Olivia's shoulder. I hear something. What did you see? I think they've come back to finish the job, Gina replied. Who? Olivia remember when the flying demons attacked me at Inga's cabin and they possessed my body. Olivia grew sick and shaky. The pounding rhythm in her chest echoed in her ears like drums, and her brain throbbed. Gina wrapped her arms around Olivia like a mother who would protect her daughter. The sound of the wind died down. The brown leaves laid still. Olivia heard something. It wasn't the wind or the leaves on the ground. It sounded like a flutter of wings. Was it the crows again? The sound increased. She scanned the sky. Gina grabbed Olivia's hand. Come on, we have to hide. Her grip was so tight, Olivia's fingers and hands grew numb. What's going on? She bent her fingers inward to cope with the numbness. Gina moved so fast and desperate, like a mother leading her child out of danger into the safety zone. The faster she moved across the dirt ground, the more she tightened her grip around Olivia's wrist. Olivia kept tripping over clumps of oversized dirt the shape of rocks. Each time Olivia fell, the loose dirt pressed against her palms and elbows, sticking to her jeans like gum. Gina, slow down. We can't. We have to find a place to hide. Once Gina found a place, she yanked on Olivia's arm. Olivia fell forward to the ground. Her fingers slid into the soil. She scraped her hands on the rocks and felt the twigs poke at her arms. Gina knelt and kept her eyes forward. Whatever she saw must have scared her. Could it have been the flying demons? Olivia wiped away the little pebbles that stuck to her. What is it, Gina? She could now feel her hand again and flexed her fingers as her knuckles popped. They're coming. I can feel it through my bones. Gina remained still. Olivia looked up at the sky like a child looking for the Big Dipper. A large, black, skinny animal with large skin-like wings landed on a dead tree. The crows flew off in a panic into the pale sky like sharp spears. Black feathers trailed down to the ground. Olivia gasped and covered her mouth. Gina was right. It was the flying demons that had possessed her. What are they doing here? Did they come with Inga? The skinny creature snatched a crow with its jaws and ate it like a raptor. Its sharp teeth ripped through flesh and crunched bone. One of the crow's legs fell to the ground and grew stiff. A cluster of feathers floated down to the dirt like a pillow fight had happened. The claws on it were just like Peter's and the others, but bigger and thicker. The skinny beast lifted one of its back legs and bit between the claws a few times, then licked it gently. Its body had scales like a snake, but black. The head almost had dark horns like the claws, its teeth sharp and blood-stained like a crocodile. Could these flying demons be a creature from Peter, Mark, and Joseph? Could they be connected in some way? Were they made as one? Its wings folded backward and covered its back and hind quarters. Olivia wondered how they found them. Did Inga have a vision, or had she been waiting for them both to arrive? The answer was unclear to her. A hot breath that smelled like rotten flesh blew Olivia's hair over her shoulders and past her face. She lost her balance and bumped into Gina, almost knocking her over. You okay? Olivia moved her hair from her face. Yeah. I felt something, like a hot breeze. She felt a tight grip around her ankle. What's that? Her leg was yanked out from underneath her. Her chin slammed against the hard dirt. A sharp pain throbbed through her jaw. She screamed, grabbing onto Gina's arm. Their grip loosened. Her arms and hands slid along the ground, clutching her nail into the dirt for life. Rocks and twigs scraped at her arms and belly. Dust picked up all around. Hard to take a breath in. Olivia tasted the bitter dirt on her tongue. It itched and burned her eyes. Her ankle throbbed from the picture. Suddenly, the flying demon lifted her off the ground. Gina, Olivia screamed, reaching for something to grab onto. The vial hung past her chin as it dangled by her forehead. Blood rushed to her brain as a heaviness built up. Her eyes watered and blurred. In a split second, the flying demon dropped Olivia to the ground. It held both her arms down, pressing her against the ground. For a moment, Olivia made eye contact with the large beast. It was like she was brought back in time. She saw herself standing in the woods where Inga's cabin was. The black thing that darted from the tree before meeting Inga was the creature she had seen that was holding her down. It took her back to a different place in time. She saw Inga standing outside with one of the flying creatures in front of her. She rubbed the head of it as if it were a pet. Did these things belong to Inga? What are they, and where did they come from? She was brought back to reality as the creature grabbed hold of the rope attached to the vial and yanked it off. The creature flapped its wings and lifted off Olivia. A draft of dust clouded her vision. She coughed a few times and reached to grab it. No! She scrambled to her feet through the dust and dirt. Give it back. The flying creature flew higher, then it disappeared into the sky. No, she screamed, her nails digging into her skull. Olivia kicked a rock off the edge of the cliff and turned around. Gina stood there with a hand on her ribs and a desperate look on her face. Leaves and little twigs stuck to her hair. Thank God you're okay, Olivia. She hissed back in pain, holding her rib tighter. Olivia knew it hurt to talk, but did it anyway. I couldn't get away from the flying demon. She tipped her head down and calmed her breathing and looked back at her. Olivia clenched her fist, upset and frustrated that she failed not just for herself, but Gina and Tyler as well. She should have taken caution. She rubbed her face with both hands, unsure what to do. In the moment of failure and disappointment, she remembered something. Gina, wait. We both know what those things were, right? Gina nodded. Yes, Olivia. I think I saw it in the woods before I met Inga. I saw something in the tree above me. But it darted off too soon before I could get a good look at it. Olivia made eye contact with Gina as if they both were figuring out a locked message. What else did you see in your vision, Gina? I saw it outside of Inga's house. She was rubbing its head like it was a pet or something. Olivia stood there thinking, we have to go get the vial. Tyler needs it or he's going to die without it, just like Belinda said. She would stop at nothing to get it back. She must at least try. I can't let him die. He wouldn't let me die. Batman? Batman? Then we have to go back down the way we came. Olivia followed Gina down the endless path. When they arrived back to the spot where they first started, Inga's cabin was no longer there. Olivia came to a stop and couldn't speak. Where did Inga's cabin go? She looked around the area as if to find a lost item, but then it was nowhere to be seen. Everything still looked the same. The bright yellow and oranges on the ground, the maple trees so tall they could reach the sky. Did Inga time travel again like before? She asked Gina. Let's just keep moving. It'll turn up somewhere, I'm sure. Olivia followed Gina down the path they had walked through. I hope Tyler is okay. Where is he? Why did Inga need the vial? Did she need it for some reason? What will she do to it? If she destroyed it, what would happen to Tyler? Oh God, I can't even think of that right now. Olivia stopped and looked at Gina. She heard people's voices and the loud rumble of horses. Where is it coming from, and whom could it be? The noises gained closer. It came from all directions. Gina grabbed Olivia's wrist. Oh God, what is that? Gina and Olivia took off running and ventured out through the woods like a poison cloud was behind them, killing everything in its path. With so many twigs and leaves on the ground, Olivia kept falling. They tangled between her shoelaces. Gina helped her up. Don't let the witches get away, a man called out. Gina and Olivia veered in the different direction and came to a dirt road. A horse stopped in front of them. Olivia leaned back into Gina, avoiding the hooves of the horse. People came from every direction like scattered cattle. The wooden torches in their hands were big and bright enough to scare off any animal. The people surrounded Olivia and Gina like a pack of animals, circling their prey, ready to take it down and go for the death kiss. A crowd of men with axes and pitchforks were too close for comfort. Olivia held onto Gina like a scared child. Her vision grew blurry with tears burning her eyes. The men had on flat hats and a white ruffle around their necks. They had on breeches and garters with stockings up to their knees, doublets to their chests and stomachs. White cots were around their wrists. They all had different expressions on their faces, as if they had been through a rough period in their lives. The women were in gowns with cuffs around their heads. Olivia knew they couldn't get away fast enough to escape. If she could, how? They were blocked in every angle. Their stares sent chills down her spine, like freezing temperatures had just drifted into the road. Gina kept her arms around Olivia until she couldn't move. It's okay, don't let go of me. The group of men on horses circled the girls, staring down at them. Please don't hurt us, Olivia begged. All the men backed up, leaving a path. A man on a horse came through the crowd and stopped. He also had on a flat hat. It blocked his facial features. Gina moved in front of Olivia. Who are ye? The man asked. Olivia was afraid to speak or move. Would she get killed and their bodies thrown in the river? That's not in the river. That's not how she wanted to go or die. That's not how she wanted to die or go. Well, spit it out. She looked up for a brief second, then tipped her head back down. Olivia? Olivia, the man questioned. I never heard of that name before. R.E. Line? Olivia shook her head and looked back up at the man. He leaned forward. And looked at Gina. What's your name? Gina. Grab the young girl, a woman called out. A couple of women ran over, grabbed Olivia by the arm and pulled like she was a rag doll. Olivia gripped onto Gina and screamed. Let her go, Gina yelled. She drew her fist back and punched one of them in the face. The woman's bonnet came loose and fell to the ground. She caught her balance and held a hand to her nose, then gritted her teeth. Gina glared back at the man, keeping Olivia close to her side. Don't you try it again. The man on the horse chuckled. It caught Olivia's attention. Ye seem very protective of that young girl beside ye. She stays with me. What is your mission here, then? He asked. Spare the young girl, or tell me the truth, and that will be the end of it. We're looking for Inga, Olivia blurted out. A few people gasped, and whispers were heard. All the men aimed their torches and pitchforks at the girls. The man on the horse held his hand up. They all lowered their weapons and took a step back, like an army obeying the king's orders. He got off his horse, tossed the rope over the saddle, and walked towards Gina. The sun glided from behind a cloud, and light exposed his face like an answer had been revealed. It's him, Richard. My ancestor from the pictures. It had to be. Olivia couldn't believe it. She was inches away from an ancestor that had died years ago, before her birth. And now, here he was, right there. A part of her was glad to finally see and meet him, but he didn't look nice in person. He looked like a bully that wanted her out of his sight. The man stopped by Olivia. He pointed the tip of his sword to Gina's shoulder and pushed her back until she was to the ground, on both elbows. Don't ye move. A few people in the crowd laughed. He placed his sword underneath Olivia's chin. Tears burned her vision. Olivia didn't want to die. He pushed Olivia's head back, so she was looking at him. What is your mission here? She paused. To find Inga. He chuckled. She tried not to flinch to the tip of the sword that pressed against her skin like a needle. We're from the year 2010. We traveled here to kill Inga. He lowered his sword. She touched her chin and didn't feel or see any blood. Inga, the man sneered. How do ye know Inga? She traveled to the year 2010 and tried to kill me. Ye must be witches then. Gina sat up. Sir. Silence, he snapped. He looked back at Olivia. Why is she trying to kill ye? She gave me a crystal stone? More people gasped and lifted their hands as if protecting themselves from harm or danger. They shrunk down to the ground like scared dogs weeping in the silent night. Whispers filled the crowd. The crystal stone. She took it. The man stepped closer. Ye didn't take it, did ye? Olivia hesitated and her lips parted. Yes, sir. Mutters became louder and people backed away in shock. You should know not to take a stone from that witch. Do ye have any idea what you've done? He shook his head. We have much to talk about, ye girls and I, he said. Then climbed back on the horse. He yanked on the rope. Bring them. You're not going to kill us, right? Olivia asked, her nerves shaken. Olivia, don't speak, Gina said. Just do what they say. A couple of men tied Olivia's hands behind her back, then Gina's. Where are you taking me? Olivia, it's okay, Gina said, as if to calm a child down. Once Olivia and Gina were put in the back of the wagon, a whip snapped, yanking it forward. Men on horses walked beside it. Olivia noticed that they were watching her and Gina closely, like eagles watching their prey on every move. A tap on Olivia's foot caught her attention. Gina nodded to let her know everything will be okay. I'm scared. I know. We'll find a way out of this. The man on the right hit the side of the wagon with his sword. Olivia flinched like a scared child, afraid to go upstairs. Stop talking, witches. A man on the left walked by on his horse and leaned forward. Witches, he hissed. A third man laughed, trailing behind them. Leave her alone, Gina said. The second man raised his sword. Quiet, witch. He lowered his sword and leaned towards her. She leaned back. Or ye will be licking up your blood with your own slivered tongue. A few men giggled as if to agree with him. How would ye like that, huh, witch? He wrinkled his nose at Olivia as if to protect his person from their taint. Olivia leaned to Gina's shoulder. We got a little surprise for ye witches. He curled his top lip back and laughed. His horse stopped as the wagon continued down the path. The man looked at Olivia as if she were spoiled meat. Wow. Oh, wait. I think is this chapter longer? Yeah, it is. Okay. So that chapter was really interesting to write. When I was writing that chapter, I had to do, like I said in the last video, I had to do a ton of research because I didn't know much about the village and the people. So I did research on what they look like and what they dressed and how they talked. And some of them were like really, really mean. So I had to do like research on that. And then I also needed to do some research on the flying demons that had possessed Gina a while ago in the second book. And I was having a lot of fun like with the village people because that was going to be like an important thing in the book with a wicked curse and mystical. So I knew I was going to have to do a lot of research with like the village and the people. When I was working on the first book, The Wish, I didn't really do like a ton of research because I didn't really talk about it too much in the first one. And then when the second book came, I did a little bit more. And I did like, so in this village, like when you say the name Inga, they kind of get scared and they kind of shrink down to the ground and they start whispering and they're like praising, you know. And that's what I really wanted to do because this village has a long history with Inga. And I've always kept telling myself I really want to write a book, you know, from like the very beginning, like how this all started. And I hope to someday soon. I just don't know when I will do it. I could probably just do an outline right now. But I think that would be really interesting if I did do like go like clear to the beginning of how it all started. And then I guess you guys could get like an insight of like the whole thing instead of like the flashbacks. But that idea has been floating around in my head for like a long time. And so the next chapter is going to be really interesting. It is only 3 pages, but I'm going to stop there. So Gina right now in this chapter is like really protective of her because like she doesn't trust these people. She knows that they hang witches and burn them at the stake and whatnot. So she's trying to just be like protective of her. And I wanted to show that from Gina's, like I just wanted to show you how protective she was. And then, yeah, these men are pretty nasty. I did not have them, like, torture Olivia or Gina in any way. So, the next chapter, I do, again, give, like, a insight of Inga. Because, like, I feel like I do want you guys to like her, but hate her. But every character should have, like, a backstory. And you should get to know them and relate with them in some way. And that's why I love writing books, because you can do that. Because I'm working on my murder mystery book right now, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. That's another whole video. So, but anyways, yeah, so I had a lot of fun reading this one. And I did notice when I was reading, I did do a lot of description of, like, when the flying demon, like, grabbed Olivia's ankle and she was being slid across the ground, and she could taste the dirt and feel it, and rocks and twigs were, like, poking her arms. And yeah, I love doing that. I've always been interested in doing stuff like that when I write a book. So anyways, okay, so this Friday I will be reading chapter 6. Probably at 6 o'clock. I don't know. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Chapter 6 at 6. I can read chapter 6, and I could maybe read chapter 7. It depends on how long the chapter. These chapters, I've kind of noticed in Awakened Evil and Wicked, Curse, and Mystical, I kind of noticed that my chapters are really, really, really long. Which I guess is normal. But anyways, so thank you all so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next live video. Bye. Batman, did you want to say bye to everybody? No? Okay. I guess he doesn't.